Let's bring you some more stories making the headlines today. And there's there's two fascinating stories with regards to managers, Cass. The Observer go with managerial game of musical chairs is vital in moment of super club struggle. That's Jonathan Wilson and his take on how you have to pick, obviously, the right choice to stabilise or regenerate a club. There's the likes of Barcelona, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, all needing new managers in the summer, and it's going to be key appointments to see where they go from there. And The Sun also have a tiny little story by Alan Nixon, where they go for Gaffers Want Axe window. The story reflects on some anonymous managers who have said that they're ready to push the LMA, so that's the League Managers Association, for managers to be treated the same as players, that they can only leave clubs, so this is sackings, poachings, I'm assuming as well, in transfer windows. Where would you stand on that?
Done a piece on it about a year a bit ago about talking about managers' contracts being different from players and how crazy I thought it was, and how managers being sacked at will. We've got to find a better solution. We have to. And I understand that there's difficulties, but there's also chairmen, directors, owners who have got to take a bit of responsibility of, showing some loyalty at some level, and also their responsibility of owning their own decisions, because they're not the culprit. And some owners will say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. The managers get highly rewarded anyway. They're quite happy, some of them, to take sackings. I think it's a much better idea to have a window. Now, it comes with issues because you'll always think of problems, and it will be start of a season. Start of a season, starts really badly, can't get rid of him now, we've got to wait to, say, January.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to live by some decisions. I mean, it's a bit weird anyway, because we've sort of gone there without them rules put in place. But if you think of Tuchel going to the end of the season, Xavi in Barcelona going to the end of the season, Jurgen Klopp going to the end of the season. So it's sort of happening organically.
Maybe so, yeah. But also maybe that's buying those clubs time to make the right appointment rather than rushing into it, especially with some of those being by their own decision, those managers making that choice to leave.
Yeah, I just think it's there was a period. I mean, Simon Jordan done an article for the Mail last year, and there was like 41 changes, and some were in interim managers, some were just straight up sackings. And he said that in that article that all of them were deserved. And I thought that wasn't fair. That wasn't a fair reflection. But Simon's been an owner, so he knows more from me of the ups and downs of management appointments and sometimes what happens behind the scenes. But I do think there has to be a much more sensible solution where managers do have windows, and if you have to wait to January, so be it. Some will go, well, that might have relegated us by then, or that might have cost us, a chance of winning a title. Well, I think sometimes you've got to live with things like that.
It's a difficult one, and it's an interesting one as well.
I would be for a window for managers.
To bring you a little snippet of what this anonymous top manager said. Players have contracts and rules that mean they are not moved outside of the windows, and it should be the same for us. So there may well be a manager window coming up. I don't know why.
Managers can walk out of contracts as well, which is
Yeah.
They can walk out. If a compensation package is put in play, it's relatively cheap to get a manager out of a football club.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why, and we've got to hit a break, but I don't know why. I just feel it's slightly different from a sacking to a poaching. I sort of feel poaching shouldn't happen. That should be windows when you might want to bring in a manager from another club. But sackings, if it's not the right appointment, sometimes I understand what you're saying, got to live and die by the sword, but sometimes you feel like it's gone too far and you've got to remove that manager. Whereas, yes, you can't sack players, but you can certainly drop them and you can move them out of your first team, as we've seen with Jadon Sancho, for example. It might not create a great environment, but there are ways of dealing with those sorts of players that you don't want in your team. Whereas a manager, if you're just waiting till January to get rid of them, by then it could be curtains already. But it's interesting.
Don't put them on gardening leave, sack them and pay them out full.
Yeah, well, there is that as well.
The Sunday Sports Breakfast with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino. Sunday mornings from 6 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.